for the feet, I like to first of all take notice how the feet looks on the ground, because oftentimes due to very short riding boots, because they're more nicer to look at, riders will get like these, I call them fish in a can, so they're very squeezed together, stuck. You won't see this nice position of the feet. If you're a rider who rides in a tighter type of boots, 3 to 4 times a week, one horse, it's normally not a problem. But if you're a rider who rides 8 horses, basically live in your riding boots, I would not like your feet to look like that. But this is how they will always look, because the riding boots are normally on the tighter side. So what I want them to see, always like, can they have this normal neutral position of the feet? They're relaxed, I don't have any gripping, anything like that. And then I will ask them to make it outside and inside. And then I want to see if they can actually move the foot from side to side, because if they're in the stirrup, you're obviously having a little motion like this, as well as up and down. So we want to see if they can do it also separately, because oftentimes first, either they don't understand the movement, or they can't separate the parts. So they will go together. So they will start moving hips to move the foot. So we would like to then point out that don't move the hips, keep the hips nice and still, and just move the foot, one and the other. And again, obviously this side is going to be less range of motion because of anatomy, and this is probably going to be very easy. But what we want to see mostly is, can I separate them from one another? And then again, the both, and we compare both arms and both sides, because you will find that one side is easier for them. They don't have to do any forceful movements there, and the other one is maybe a little bit stiffer. And usually the stiffer side is also the side that has more trouble, gives more trouble for the rider. That would be one. Then we have the nice test where you go like around this much from the wall. You put it, and then you go forward, and you try to see if I can go over. So if the wall would be here, I would be able to touch the wall. So I have I have a decent range of motion into my ankle. Then I want to see if they can actually bend the big toe. And how I do it, I will make them sit. Can they sit on their toes like this? So this is also where I find often with the riders, and this is simply for general health, because you need the big toe to propel you forward, and you need the movement there. So I want to see if they're comfortable doing that, because a lot of people nowadays are not anymore. So you will sometimes see them almost on the toes, and maybe they have very short here. They will note where they feel the discomfort. Is it the big toe, or is it the calf itself? They might get a cramp from just doing this, so they're really not used to it. And also the discomfort will indicate which area you want to pay more attention. So if it's a big toe, then you probably need to improve the mobility of the big toe. If it's the calf, you want to see what the Achilles, can it just go longer, shorter, and that there is no discomfort there. So if they can't even be in this position, you have to either work on it yourself, or you have to go to a specialist to make sure that everything...
Is this a good way to do this a little bit now and then, or is it too hard?
It might be too hard. So usually people, because if you have a restriction, they can't do it for long, and it's really painful, so they will not simply do it. So I would not force it. I would just go and see what's wrong with it, explore it more, and maybe go easier, because there are exercises standing up where you start to push them and you start to bend them, and they're less intense. This is very intense. I have my whole body weight on it, almost all body weight on it, and that's very intense, so you have to be good.
Obviously this is very important for a rider in the stirrup.
Yeah, so you want to have a mobile foot because you can't absorb everything that's stuck on the foot is going to leave impact on the knee, on the hip, and finally on the lower back.
So when you have riders with knee problems, they may actually have foot problems.
Yeah, that's something to explore always. Or well, actually even the hip problems, because this one is closely connected with how the glutes function. And then opposite side, the back and everything. So you really want them to be proper, able to move. Also for a lot of exercise programs, they will have squats or lunges and stuff. You can't do lunges without this one.
Good toe. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's simply you will feel out of balance and then you will not do it very properly. So always check this for you. If it's like good, you can pretty much live with any program that has some squats in it. Or
what other muscles will be working harder if you have a really poor strength or function in your big toe?
I would say the back side. So you will have trouble into getting into deeper positions. For example, squat. For example, yeah, just anything with pushing off. So, I mean, in riding, not so much. The sprinters would have a problem. They would lose a lot of power without being able to push back. But with the riders, it's more likely just the imbalance. So if you don't have this, then you probably have a stiffness also around the ankle.
And then you cannot absorb the energy.
Exactly, and the balance will definitely be off.